Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of the Author Collaborative. As always, I'll be talking to an author whose book I have read and enjoyed recently, and we'll be talking about their writing journey, this book in particular, and a lot of other things. So stay connected. It's going to be another exciting episode. Hi, Vicky. Thank you for joining. Okay, my guest is here, so let me just tell you about the book that we are going to discuss. It's called Megha's Autumn Equation, and the author is Reshmi Sujesh. And the book that I have read, it's about a teenager and her struggles in coping up with maths in ninth grade, and it's a really sweet, charming story. And we are going to talk about her. So stay connected. I'm just going to invite the guest now. She's already here. Let me invite her and start the episode. You an invitation. I think there was some issue. I'm trying to send you another. Okay, hi. You'll have to turn the camera, front camera.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thankfully, this time without any glitches, I was able to start the episode. So,
Yeah.
very fortunate today.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. You can't see me,
No,
is it?
no, I can't. I can't see
Uh,
you. Uh,
okay. Let me do one thing. I will remove you and add you again. Just accept the invitation that I will send you again. Okay?
Okay.
Hi, Reshmi. I have sent you another invitation. See if you can accept that. Hi, can you see me now?
No, Manali, I can't see you.
Okay, this is okay. If anyone in the audience, if someone is here, can you let us know if you can see both of us? Hi, Jude. Hi, Ankit. Can you see both of us on the screen? If someone can confirm in the comments, because Reshmi is not able to see me, and I just want to make sure everything is fine before we start today's episode. Okay, both are visible. Fine. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much for confirming. Okay, so Reshmi, first of all, welcome to the episode. Welcome to the Author Collaborative.
Thank you so much, Manali. Really excited for this session. Thank you for having me.
I'm also equally excited. I've been, I think, looking forward to having you on the show for a while now. It's been a little over a year, I think, now that I've been trying to have you on the show, and I'm very happy that it's finally happening.
Right.
So before we start, tell us about yourself. Tell the audience about who you are and what we are doing here.
Okay. So my name is Reshmi Sujesh. I'm settled in Bangalore. I have a day job as an IT program manager. I'm staying with my family, and I got into writing accidentally around, I think, 8 years back. So I have published two novels, two short stories, and I've been part of three anthologies. So yeah, so that's me in short.
Wow, that's amazing. And yes, we will talk about all those books and about your writing journey. But particularly, we are going to focus on one book, which is Megha's Autumn Equation, which I have read, and it was such a sweet, charming read. Like I was reminded of my teenage days, and I'm sure even if the young readers are going to read it, they will be able to relate. Especially those who are, struggling with coping up with the difficult subjects like maths and I think in one of the chapters, the father is also explaining you are going into higher grades, so obviously the studies are going to get that much more difficult. I was
Exactly.
laughing at that statement of the father, thinking that, yes, now I get it, but as a teenager, nobody told me that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it was a really nice, nostalgic read for me because, like Megha, I also disliked maths a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, and when she was so frustrated about all those equations and theorems and all those things, I was thinking, yes, girl, I get you. Yeah, so before we take a deep dive into other stuff and your writing, I'm just going to show the cover of the book to the audience. This is the book that we are talking about, Mega's Autumn Equation. We can see a family, and this, I am assuming, the girl in front, that's Mega, right? The
Exactly.
one with the book open in front of her and who has a frustrated expression on her face. That's
Right.
Megha. And that's her family. That's her mother, father, and her younger brother, Hannah,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And that's one of the people that she befriends during the course of the story and who helps her become better at maths. Who she is, for that you have to read the book now.
Exactly. We'll stop it at that.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read out from the first chapter itself. It's titled Woods and Brown. It's only right or wrong in maths, and that's the problem. I knew the doomsday would arrive soon, and it had come earlier than I had expected. I had scored 56% in maths in my ninth grade second term exam. Eighth grade now seemed like hot chocolate, warm and comfortable. I used to come in the first 10 ranks out of a class of 45, which seemed decent enough. But even then, I wasn't a big fan of maths. Pa taught me maths every morning, which helped me practice what I learned in school. He would make his study session exciting, and I, like an obedient student, would solve the problems he wrote neatly in my notebook. But after Pa got his promotion, which coincided with my entry into ninth grade, he was never home before dinner time. Considering my hatred for tuition, I had no choice but to learn maths independently, and with this started my downward marks journey. It never occurred to me that the level of maths would take such a leap from 8th grade to the ninth. Each chapter drained my energy, and I completely lost interest in learning the subject. I have heard people say maths is the queen of all subjects. Queen? Seriously? Maths is the proven way to make hell life for the ninth graders. I flipped the pages of my maths answer sheet for the umpteenth time, but no matter how hard I tried, I wouldn't get a mark more. Challenging Miss Daisy's perfect correction was out of the question. How was I going to present my meager marks to Ma and Pa? For sure, Pa would be upset, but he was still manageable. But Ma, she would give me an earful. But I had not failed. Not yet. So what's the big deal? I plonked on my bed and looked around the room. What an unholy mess I had created. The hunting mission for the long lost 8th grade maths textbook got the floor strewn with plastic covers, books, and magazines. I had to find my Ivy Woods and Louis Brown to get some solace. Now, who these are, Ivy Woods and Louis Brown, you you will know when you read the book. And why is she hunting for her 8th grade book? That also you will know when you read. So that was an interesting introduction to the character of Mega, and right away we know that she's a frustrated teenager, like everyone is at that age, and her frustrations are mostly about her grades,
Hmm.
which is also kind of expected.
Exactly.
Okay, so based on my reading, Reshmi, I have a few questions for you. Are you ready to answer those?
Yeah, yeah, sure,
And
sure.
let me just pull up my questions that I had for you. My first question to you is just a second. You've written four books and you have been a part of a few anthologies now, right? And so I want to understand your process. Take us through the process of, how writing these different genres is different for you, and different types of books also. Like you are a part of anthology. You are writing short stories also, which have been published as books itself, and you have written a novel, which is like in different genres again, if I'm not wrong, because this is like we are talking about a teenage girl, and there's one more book where it's like an out and out children's book, like younger children than teenagers. So how do you put yourself in the writing hat, these different kinds of books and writing that you do?
Yeah, sure, Manali. So, in fact, I started writing for children, around 7 or 8 years back. So, I started writing for print magazines. I'm sure you would have heard about Champak, Intellijelly, Tinkle, and all that, right? So, when my daughter was small, I used to read a lot of stories for her, and that's when I decided why not write a story, right? And I started writing. And one thing that I learned when writing these stories was, to make sure to read what those magazines are publishing.
Hmm.
So I used to buy the latest edition of the magazines, read through them, understand what type of stories are getting published. So, for example, if you look at Champak, basically there are animal stories, like animals convey the stories. And if I look at Magic Pot, it's basically a 300 or 350 worded short story
Hmm.
for children the ages of 4 plus, so there will be a little bit of moral or maybe something that, a concept that they are trying to teach. So it's
Hmm.
very important you understand what the magazine is looking forward to. So I used to do a lot of research on that, and then I will pitch my story to the editor. So that's how I went about, writing for these print magazines. But the process as such used to be very long. It used to take me around 2 to 3 months for the follow-ups with the editor, and then they coming back. Sometimes they would reject, sometimes they would accept, and then they would give me a time. Okay, after 3 months your story is going to get published.
Hmm.
So it was a long wait, and that's when I decided, I was looking forward to a platform where I could publish. And that's when pen to publish in Amazon came about. I learned, oh, there's something called as self-publishing, and I published my first short story, again for children ages 6 and above, which was titled Cleopatra, Louis, and
Hmm.
Harvey. What's the secret behind the name? So it was based on an interesting article that I read in the newspaper about a scientist who found a beautiful fossil about of a dinosaur. Okay, and how he named that fossil as Cleopatra. So that got me intrigued, and that's how I started writing. So when I came to short stories, it was basically, a theme that I wanted to address, and I had the freedom, to write and publish, according to my will. So that was a great, great relief for me, like coming from the print magazines. And the second short story that I wrote was Faded. There was a death in the family, and I wanted to use death as a theme, and I wrote short story. So my take on short story was, okay, I had to make sure that it conveys something to the reader, because it needs to be the characterization. Yes, I did work on the characterization, but not as much as I would do in a novel. But I was very keen that, or rather worked on the plot or the message that I wanted to convey in that particular short story. So that is how I worked on it. Now coming to novels, it was a dream for me to write a novel, because I used to go to these literature festivals, and I was
Hmm.
inspired by the authors who would launch their beautiful novels. So, and that's how during the Corona time I decided enough is enough. I really need to write a novel. And novel, as you know, it's a rather time-consuming process. And what I've learned by publishing these two novels is I now try to do a pre-launch of the idea that I want to write as a novel, just to get a reader
Hmm.
perspective whether they are liking that particular idea or not. So generally before writing, I do a pre-launch, and then I try to understand the readership, who would be ready to read. And then I come up with the outline and the characterization, and I also have plans. So coming from with a project management background, I generally put a plan in place, so that I have a goal to have this novel out, because when I have pre-launching, I would definitely have given a date. So I really want to make up to that date. So that's how I generally work on novels.
Hmm.
And anthology was a total different experience. So I worked on two anthologies, which was coordinated by Details magazine. It's again a teens magazine, and Harita was the she's the editor, and she invited a few authors to collaborate on this anthology. We were about 7 authors for the Royal Anthology. We got into Zoom meetings, we had a lot of WhatsApp chats. So here the perspective was so different, because my role was, I had to write about one character, and I had to make sure that, that the character story gels with the overall plot of the entire anthology. So 7 authors wrote 7 different characters, and that was a real great learning experience, because I got to collaborate with different authors, learn from each other, and yeah, the so my so I did not have to work for the entire book, unlike like
Hmm.
Megha's Autumn Nutrition or the case file, but I had to work on my character for that particular anthology, and make sure that that missing gaps, there are no gaps between this character, my character, and with whom she's interacting. So that was really a great experience.
Yeah. Wow. So, what you said about writing just one character and then writing different character, that seems to be a very different spectrum and such a wide experience you have had, varied experience, I would say. So that must have been really exciting. So how do you go about that then? Like writing just one character and writing multiple characters. How do you differentiate between that writing?
You mean from an anthology perspective? Is that
No, in
what you?
general also. If you're just writing one character and you are writing many characters, how do you go
Okay.
about writing? Yeah.
Yeah, so here, characterization, I spend a lot of time on characterization, and I also try to take, I imagine that particular person, like for Megha's autumn equation itself, I had this characters in my head running, and I would research and, make some pictures, like whether this person looks like what I'm thinking about.
Mm.
And then I try to have, there's a Excel that I maintain where I try to characterize everything, from each perspective, and then this character versus the other character, what are the wants
Okay.
and needs that are conflicting, so there's a, I would say, a master Excel that I maintain for
Wow.
each character, and then I try to go through, each character versus the other character, what is that I
Hmm.
can bring for each. So yeah, that's so purely on, I'll use a lot of tools there and
Hmm.
pictures to sort of imagine whether, this is how I'm looking at that particular character.
That's amazing. The kind of detailing that you have done for each character, that's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. Maintaining an Excel sheet for different characters and how they are, like their personality traits and everything. That's really nice way of putting in details and bringing your characters to life, adding more life to the characters actually.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay. So my next question to you is, what has your experience in the writing and publishing industry been like? Be it about writing or be it about promotions or about community building, what has your experience been like?
Okay, so as I said, initially I used to write, or I think around 10 years back, I generally used to write blogs on project management because that's the background that I come from, and stories call me, and I shifted to writing stories, like, as I said, in print magazines. And one thing that I've learned from that whole experience, like for 2 to 3 years, I was, going behind print magazines, getting my
Mm,
stories published. I gained a lot of patience in that that whole experience, and for me, and it also gave me, an understanding of what I actually enjoyed writing. So one
mm,
thing was I definitely was interested in writing fiction alone,
mm,
but in fiction also, what is the genre that I really wanted to write? And children's stories came out to me, and then contemporary fiction is one thing
mm,
that it comes from my heart. I don't have to think too much, or I enjoy writing. So it took me time to understand because I was exploring that 2 or 3 years time. I was trying to see, what is that I like to write. And
mm,
then when I started writing these stories, and self-publishing came, along the way. I learned self-publishing, tried to publish it. But as I got into self-publishing, I also understood, that not everybody is going to like your
mm,
work, right? And there were a lot of rejections that came in, like people used to give reviews that, that's not what I expected. But at the same time, it took time, or rather, I was able to see that the work does get
mm.
appreciated. It takes time for people to understand your work, appreciate your
Yeah.
work. So that's taken me time, and I'm glad that I really cherish those experiences. And when I got into self-publishing, it was the initial short stories, but when I really decided to want to write a novel, I was looking forward to, because it can get really overwhelming. And I'm glad that I found Shweta Samota. She has been my mentor to guide, the writing, editing, and publishing, for a self-published author. So I think if anybody is interested to get into self-publishing and want to take that route very seriously, it will be good that they have a guide or a mentor, because it can get really
Yeah.
overwhelming, to do everything alone, right? So I would highly recommend that you go through a mentor or a guide. And over the years, I've learned that networking is very important, because I have now interacted with lots of authors, learned from each other. So That's something that I always look forward to, like the collaboration that we are doing now. So similarly, I look forward to all the collaborations and meeting and learning from each other. And the last but not the least is marketing, Manali, because I learned that you have to get out of your comfort zone if you really want your book to reach the readers that you are looking forward to. Because marketing is, I've still not got a hang of marketing. I'm still learning. But if you are not going to talk about your work and make sure that it reaches, then nobody else is going to do that. So it's important that you get out of your comfort zone, utilize the social media, talk to people, network. So these are things that I've learned along the way. It has taken time, but but I'm still learning. So yeah, marketing is still an area that I'm still learning.
Same here. Yeah, we are learning. It's like a on the job learning for us.
Exactly,
For indie authors
exactly.
especially, it's like on the job learning all the time. Uh, I totally get that, and thank you for being so honest about all this. Because yes, as you said, having a mentor in a field like this is very important. Even if you don't have just one mentor, talking to somebody who has done it before you really helps you, get an idea of what you are expected to do at least. Uh,
Exactly.
maybe you can do it alone, but at least understand the process.
Exactly, exactly. So that sort of eases the frustration, otherwise
Yeah,
it can get really frustrating.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's about it from my side, Rishmi. I leave the floor open to you now. You have also read my book. I'm sure you have some questions for me too.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I had the opportunity to read your book, Heartstrings and Harmonies. And this was the first time that I'm reading a book which is having a musical tone throughout, right? And a lot of you've taken up the popular Hindi songs, so I was able to hum along, as I was reading it. So great job on putting this book
Mm,
together. And,
thank you so
and
much.
some stories really stood out, and I wish some stories could have been a little bit longer to enjoy more. So yeah, it was a great
Before you
reading
continue, I'm
experience.
just going to show the audience the book. This is the book
Yeah.
that we are talking about, Heartstrings and Harmonies. It's a collection of 29 short stories. And that's what Reshmi is talking about, her reading experience of reading the book. Yes, go on.
Yeah, so let me ask you the first question is, I was intrigued by the title of your Instagram handle and the blog that you are running, A Rustic Mind. So what's the story behind in coming up with this name, and how has your journey been, managing, or the entire journey of blogging and Instagram as well?
When I was thinking of a pen name for my blog and for all my social media handles, it started with the blog first. WordPress came up first. And I have usually been a person who doesn't believe in identifying people through their face or their bodies. I believe in looking at their minds, how they are intrinsically rather than how they are physically. So, and I've always been an ambivert. I was an introvert, now I'm an ambivert. Initially, it was just introvert. So, as a teenager, I was always more into my old world, thinking only about stuff and not talking much, like everything in my head, but not saying it out much. So I always knew that I wanted to have a name which has something to do with my mind, and which defines my thinking and my own personality both. And
Mm-hmm.
when I thought of combining the two, like when I thought that I want to define my mind in my pen name, I was thinking of different words, and the word rustic fit very well because it is something which is unpolished and raw, and it's not affected by the worldview so much, and that's how the combination of the two came about, a rustic mind, which then became my blog and my Instagram and everywhere. Actually, I'm as a rustic mind.
Very nice, very nice. That's
So
nice.
that's how it came about. And the journey has been a long one. I call it, long process of elimination because I have done my 11th and 12th in commerce, and then after that I did my management course. Both my graduation and post graduation I have done in management, and I did a few jobs after that. And in doing those jobs, I realized that this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is not something I'll be happy in doing. So then I did a literature course. Uh, I
Mhm.
did my master's in English,
Mhm.
and then that's during that whole awakening period, I began writing, and it began as content writing, and then it slowly became blog writing, and now it's a combination of everything. Now it's blog writing, now it's freelance writing. I am also doing authoring, and I also do freelance editing. So yeah, basically all forms of writing that one can do, I'm doing.
Exactly. Interesting, interesting. So let me take a bits of that answer to my next question. So now I think it's been now 8 years that you are into professional writing and also writing as a hobby, right? So how does your day look like? You are doing so many things, and is there a memorable feedback that you can share with us, from a client or from a reader?
Okay, so okay, the client would be different and the reader would be different. Let's go with the reader first.
Mm-hmm.
There's one memory that stands out particularly. It's related to my third book at the time, which I released in the peak of the pandemic. This was in 2020, and it was my third book. I was, used to getting appreciated for my writing by that time, but then that particular memory stands out for me because this person messaged me on Instagram saying that they were going through a tough period and they read my book, and you know it stopped them from taking a drastic decision, doing something that might have harmed them or the others around them. And that really meant something to me because we were all going through such a dark phase. It's not days that we look upon with fondness, right? The
Mm-hmm.
lockdown and the pandemic was hard for everyone, and when somebody said that those hard days became a little better because of reading my book, I was like, wow, my job is done. What else do I need to do now?
Lovely. Mm-hmm.
And client feedback, I have edited about 6 books now, and I also edit articles of others. I also do ghostwriting. But one that stands out for me is uh, when this person that I was working for, they had written a very impactful story. But when I told them that we need to do this, we need to do that, I had a hesitation in me because that person is very senior to me, and
Mm-hmm.
in their other profession they are like a very well respected person. So I had a little hesitation in me while saying it, and they said that you are experienced in your field, you don't have to hesitate, I trust you. And that kind of feedback, and after I gave him that feedback, the and he incorporated it, and then he came back and told me that the publisher has told them that this is the thing that stood out for them, and this is one of the reasons that they are picking up their book. That client came back and told me this is because of you that it's happened. So
Wow,
that
that's
kind of feedback, it stood out for me.
lovely. Very, very nice. Very.
Yeah, so it's been like I have been doing freelance writing since 2017 now, and it's been a long journey, but it's been fruitful. It has its bad days also, of course. I'm not always
Mhm.
happy, and it's not always like appreciation coming all the way. There's always critical feedback. There's always
Yeah.
critical feedback both on the work that I do and also on the books and writing that are out there and people are reading it. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a mix of both.
And that's fine,
And
right, Manali? It's fine, right? You
yeah,
you
I mean
get us.
it's a part and parcel of every
Yes,
profession.
absolutely.
So why should it be any different from for me? Just because I'm doing freelancing, just because I'm doing creative work, doesn't mean कि मुझे critical feedback नहीं आएगा. Just doesn't mean that everyone is going to like my work.
Exactly. Exactly. And how does your day look like? How do you manage your day?
So it's before and after lunch वाला थोड़ा फंडा है उसमें. In the morning, I generally divide the time for my blogging and my engagement and stuff. And after lunch, I have kept for the work that I do as a freelancer, like taking up projects or ghostwriting, freelancing, editing, or writing that I'm doing. That's generally after lunch, and during that time, I also keep a certain time for engaging on social media and putting a post or something like that. Though I have reduced that a lot, but that, as you know, it's a necessary evil. We can't stay away
Hmm.
from it also.
Exactly.
We are doing this also on social media, so you know how necessary it is. So yeah,
Exactly. Lovely, lovely. Thanks for sharing that.
no problem. I had, yeah, I love sharing my experiences. If somebody out there is getting help, out of my experiences that I'm sharing, it's like community building.
Exactly.
Yes. So, would you also like to read out from my book?
Oh, yeah. That'll be my pleasure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the title of the story is These Threads of Love Entwined with Your Fingers, 2025. Okay. Tu hoga zara pagal, tune mujhko hai chuna. You must be a little mad that you have chosen me. Pratmesh hummed the lyrics while rummaging through the kitchen drawers. Finding the spatula he had been looking for, he used it to toss and turn the omelette over the pan. He cooked and waited for the others to join him at the breakfast table, reminiscing the first time this song came into his life, the day that changed his life for good and some bad. 2015. What an amazing movie, right? About time Bollywood learned to make some such good content. Pratmesh nodded in mute agreement. His mind was elsewhere, specifically on how the goosebumps on his hands and even his legs hadn't settled even after almost half an hour. His mind kept replaying the moment when unexpectedly her head had found its way onto the square of his shoulders. The smell of her hair and the accidental touch of her face onto his shoulder had almost led him to faint. Somehow he had managed to stay sane throughout the movie, not moving even a bit for the fear of disturbing her comfort. Or was it the fear of losing out on the small victory of finally being so physically close to her? Whatever. The reasons didn't matter. At least not right now. Tu hoga zara pagal, tune mujhko hai chuna. They were out of the multiplex and in the midst of the maddening Mumbai traffic, while she hummed the song, also intermittently remarking about how good the movie and the songs were. He tried to hurl Nauto. She crooned, reaching for his hand in an attempt to do a little dance along with the singing. Lost in her world, she missed the oncoming traffic. Look out! Pratmesh grabbed her hand, pulling her to safety. He registered the look of fear and shock on her face before he felt the jerk. The last thing he remembered was how light he felt as his body flew from one end of the road to the other. And after that, everything went blank. So there's a story after that also. So you have to check out the book to continue with the story there. Lovely one, Mansi. Manal.
Manali. Yeah. No problem. That generally happens. People often confuse my name with Mansi. It's okay. Anyway, Mansi is like very easy to remember, and it's a more common name. So,
No comment.
thank you for reading out that particular story. And you have also already mentioned the song, but for the audience who's listening to it, just want to clarify that the title of the story is based on the Hindi song "Ye Moh Moh Ke Dhage," which is why the title is "These Threads of Love Entwined with Your Hands," which is "Ye Moh Moh Ke Dhage Teri Ungliyon Se Ja Ulje." And yeah, each story in this book is based on a Hindi song, and the titles are also lyrics of that particular song that the story is based on. This was one of those stories. Thank you so much for reading that out.
Sure, sure.
Now, let me just scroll up and see if we have any audience questions. If we don't have, we move to my favorite part, which is the rapid fire. No, we don't have any questions. So, moving on to my favorite part of the show, which is the rapid fire round. So, how we'll do this, Reshmi, is I will ask one question, you can answer, and then you ask the question that you have for me. Okay?
Okay.
Let me just pull up the questions again. In the meanwhile, if we have any questions, you can address those. I don't think we have had any questions coming in yet, right?
Yeah, I don't see any questions.
Okay, so my first question to you is, uh, in this book we see Mega having a crush on one of her batchmates, and she's going a little gaga over him, following him around, and making sure that he's noticing her. And by the end of the story, she has also befriended another guy who we see that she's going close to, but we are not told anything beyond a few chapters. Like, towards the end, we see that they have a good friendship, but nothing further develops there. But I want to ask you, as a reader, out of these two guys, Varun or Rohit, who ends up being Megha's first date and how does it come about?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I have never thought about it. I just left it like that. But yeah, if it was a reader, I would say she would go with Rohit, and maybe her first date would be at the Munshi's Samosas in the township itself because she loves going there. So yeah, that would be my
Oh, wow, lovely. I can just imagine them doing there, a little
yeah.
awkward at first and then realizing we are just friends. This is just another day for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, my turn, right? Okay. What was your favorite TV show when you were a child?
Oh my God. That's not really difficult. There were a lot of good shows back then in the 90s and early 2000s actually. Not so much in the 90s, early 2000s I would like to say. But there was Hip Hip Hooray, there was Hum Panch, later on
Okay.
Tarabai versus Sarabai, and there was also one show called Remix on the same channel where Sarabai versus Sarabai used to air, which was
Mm-hmm.
about, it was like a more modern version of the older one, Hip Hip Hooray, where we were shown the school children. And there was also another show called Just Muhabbat. These were like, teenage shows, young people shows that, I used to like. But I think the shows that I enjoyed the most were Sarabai versus Sarabai, the family show, I'm saying, that, where all kinds of age groups were involved. That was Sarabai, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
I mean, nothing can beat that show. Even today, I feel that we have not made such a show, such a comedy show, wholesome comedy show till now. Like, it's been almost 20 years now, I think,
Hmm.
since the first episode of Saraway came out, and we have not been able to recreate something like that. Okay. My next question to you is short stories or novels? Give me your answer as a reader and as a writer, and why.
Okay. As a writer, I think at this phase of time, I think I will pick short stories
I'm
because
just going
I
to hurt you here because Sangeeta has given me one more answer, Day by Day. Yes, that's
day by
another
day.
show that
Oh,
I used
okay.
to like.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Day by day.
Okay. ये जो है
Yeah, so
जिंदगी.
as a
No, I have not
writer, I
watched.
think it depends upon the current phase of life that I'm currently in. So I think this year, I would probably shift to short stories
Okay.
since it's done to novels. So yeah, short stories as a writer for now. And while reading, I would generally pick a short story during weekday because I would like to close my day reading a short story. But if I'm walking, going for walks, or going on a long travel, I would prefer a novel. That's how I
Okay.
generally.
Oh, lovely. So, you listen to audiobooks
Yes,
also,
yes.
I'm assuming, because
I'm a
you
big
said
fan of
while
audiobooks. Yeah.
walking. Yes. Okay. I'm yet to explore that
Okay.
format of reading,
You
but
should definitely should definitely try that out.
okay.
Okay, now it's my turn. Okay, how many cities have you lived in across India?
Across India. Okay, so three cities majorly, but of course, as a traveler, I have lived in many more. The three cities where I have lived for over a year or a little l- less than a year. Firstly, Surat. That's my hometown because I was born and brought up there. So, till
Mhm.
the age of 17 and a half or just about when I turned 18. Till that time, I was in Surat. And then, ever since then, I have been in Mumbai. And now,
Okay.
of course, I am an NRI. I live in the
Mhm.
Netherlands currently. So,
Okay.
that's another country altogether. But during my professional life, in the beginning of my professional life, I have also lived in Ahmedabad for a year. So these are the three cities in India that where I have lived for longer periods. Of course, I have traveled to a lot, but that's for another time.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. My next question to you is your favorite or most fruitful promotional technique for books?
Okay, so it's basically basically the marketing strategy that you're asking, right? So, uh, one thing that I've tried, Manali, is Amazon ads that has worked or
Hmm.
it's working. So I've trying that, still learning, optimizing the ads. So yeah, that's a good way of marketing. And the other strategy that I've learned or try to implement is, for the readers who buy my book, generally I offer a free creative session. So generally, my books are for middle grade readers, so the parents and children who are buying, I offer a creative writing session for free. So that's really, most of them have come back to me after the session, also given me a great feedback. So that has worked for me.
That's a really good idea. Thank you for sharing that. Very
Sure.
yeah. Okay, your turn.
Okay, my turn. Okay, what is the last book you read?
Yours. I just finished it yesterday.
Okay, no, no, forget mine. What was the previous one?
Uh, so for Pride Month, I was reading this book called The Gunkle, and the lead character is a gay man, and he loses his best friend, and he has to take care of the children who cannot live with the father because he's going under rehabilitation, and the children come under his care and he's completely clueless about how to take care of the children because they are really young. And this person, he's 42 but he has not like really grown up. He's himself very immature. So it's a really funny story where
Hmm.
the three people, they belong to different age groups, but they are basically all equally immature, and they are trying to come together to form a bonding, and yet they are also overcoming the grief of losing that one person in their life who was so important to them. So it's really really funny and sad at the same time how they are dealing with everything.
What is the
I
name
really enjoy
of the book? What is
the
the name of the book?
gunkle.
No.
So it's a combination of two words, gay uncle, so it's gunkle.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So the lead character's name is Patrick. So it's Pat Gunkle. So Pat Gay Uncle.
Okay, okay. Very fine.
Yeah, it's a good book. And if you really are into LGBTQ plus books, it's a recommended read, I would say.
Okay.
Okay, my next question to you is a character you disliked or you had to research for the most in one of your stories.
Okay, so if I take about Megha's autumn equation, there's nothing like a character, but I think I did a lot of research on Max because I wanted to have Max running in in the book, and I wanted to make sure that it is not too much for the readers, but at the same time sprinkle Max in the story. So I did
Hmm.
a lot of which I went through NCRT
Oh,
textbooks,
wow.
eighth grade, ninth grade textbooks. I spoke to my daughter. She was a 10th grader at that time. I had her read my script. Then I listened to a lot of audiobooks which were written, like Max novels were there. So I read a lot of
Okay,
that.
wow.
So yeah, basically on the research on Max to use it in the book. Yeah.
Lovely. And oh my God. I have to ask this as a follow-up question. Were you yourself a fan of maths as a student?
I started enjoying Max, I think, after ninth grade, but before that, I never used to enjoy because
Yeah.
there's a time that you start enjoying when you start solving sums. Yeah, after ninth grade, I started enjoying Max.
So yeah, this must not have been a difficult research for you. But if it had been for somebody like me who has never liked maths, it would have been another struggle. Like मुझे पसंद ही नहीं है और मुझे उस पे research करना है, and then I have to put it
Hmm.
as a part of the story. That's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
struggle.
exactly, exactly.
Interesting. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Do you prefer fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction always.
Fiction
If
only.
given a choice, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I and non-fiction, I don't know. Maybe I have not probably found my favorite subgenre yet in non-fiction, but I really do not enjoy self-help. That's
Mm.
not a, and majorly in non-fiction, I have seen that the best-selling books are self-help books, and I'm not a fan of those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even I have started to read nonfiction. It's like, okay, why so many people are picking up these books that with that interest picking up one book to read every month, but as you said, for me, anytime fiction is a good book. Yeah.
Okay, my last question to you. Just a second. Yeah. So, what are you working on currently, and what will be your next book?
Okay, so currently, I'm working on a collection of school short stories,
Mhm.
basically, again, targeted for middle grade audience. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I've collected these stories based on with a lot of experience because I've interacted with my daughter's friends. So these are stories that have come, and if I read them back, I can laugh at it. So I hope the readers would enjoy that. So yeah, it's going to be a collection of school short stories, and I hope to launch it in November this year. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
lovely. That's great. All the best. I'm really looking forward to that.
sure, sure.
And we have Sangeeta here who's commenting, I think, about our discussion on non-fiction books. She is saying, wait for my memoir platform ticket. It's going to be out in 25.
Oh,
Really looking forward to it, Sangeeta, and good luck with that.
good luck with that. Okay, so my final question to you, yeah, I think this is quite clear, right? So you did make it. Which subject do you like more, maths or science?
Out of the two,
Yeah.
if there is an option of none of the above, I would say that. But if out of the two, if I have to say, then I will put a tagline there and say lesser of the two evils, so science.
It's like, I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today, Reshmi. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I really look forward to doing this again sometime in November or December with your
Yeah.
new book.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Manali, for having me. It was great experience. Got to read your wonderful book and lovely conversation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.